Hi everyone, it's Nicki here and I'm back with another Ask an Author, and today I have another tag from AuthorTube that I came across some other videos people had done. Thought it looked like a fun tag and decided to join in. So we've got looks like about 8 questions here, so let's make a start. The name of this tag is the Rituals tag, the writing rituals. So number 1, when do you write? It really varies. I don't have a set time because I don't have a set schedule. My husband works shifts, so you know, some days he'll be home. He's actually home today. He's sitting in his study doing some work while I film this video. I told him not to yell out anything or come through in the middle of the video, so I've got this one and one more to film, then we'll be done and he'll be free to roam the house again. But he works shifts, so sometimes he's away during the day, sometimes he's at work in the evening, and that will really affect my schedule and when I do things. In general, I'd start the day with social media. If I've got an editing job in, that will be my next priority. And then after that, I organise my time depending on my mood and what I want to do. So that can include writing, drawing, music practice, MOOCs if I'm doing a MOOC at the moment, some family history research. So it tends to be a second half of the day thing, whether that day is a morning, afternoon day or whether it's an afternoon, evening day, depending on where my husband is, what he's up to. So it's more of a something I do. Writing is something I do after I've got the really important work out the way. So editing for other people is obviously my main priority for a day if I have a job in, and then writing would come after that. 2, how do you seclude yourself from the outside world? I'm fairly secluded anyway. I mean, I work from home as a freelance editor, so unless I choose to go out, I'm pretty much just at home, either on my own or just with my husband. And so it's pretty easy just to shut myself away. I don't tend to write when he's here because I do find that a bit distracting when, you know, he might be coming through doing things. But most of the time I am on my own, so I will just sit in my chair and here in this library music room and do some writing, or else at my computer in the other room if I'm at typing up stage, and just write, and it's pretty easy to turn off the world. The only thing that does distract me sometimes is social media. I was writing a bit yesterday afternoon when I got a message from my friend Alina, and so we ended up having a little messenger, like Facebook Messenger chat, just going through a couple of things. She had a potential editing job, we were discussing getting together for a Google Hangouts thing, so that sort of distracted me from my writing for a few minutes, but it was all still good because it's potential work and organising for some fun author stuff with her. So social media is the only thing that usually can distract me. One other thing, if I'm in the middle of a binge show watching, then sometimes I'm itching to get Netflix or the DVD on as well. But I try to be strict and make sure I do a bit of writing first. 3, how do you review what you wrote the previous day? I try not to too much, because I am someone who is prone to editing as I draft, and I try really hard not to do that, because otherwise I'd never get a first draft out if I'm constantly going back tweaking things. I get around that since I've been doing my new way of handwriting then typing up, because I can kind of get a sneaky little mini edit in as I'm typing up. Now, if I see something I think, oh, I'll change the phrasing of that, I can do it in that typing up stage, and that's enough to keep me satisfied until the proper round of edits come in. In terms of reviewing what I wrote, the most I do is probably if I haven't picked it up and it's been like a day or two, I might just glance back at where I got up to, just to make sure if I didn't get to the end of a chapter, sometimes I have to stop mid-chapter because I have to go and do something, just to make sure I'm picking up at the right spot, what's just happened, what's just been said. So I got a nice continual flow and I'm not suddenly jarring by a complete conversation, abrupt change in the middle of a scene. But otherwise I try not to get too bogged down in reviews until I'm actually at a proper editing stage. 4, what song is your go-to when you're feeling uninspired? As I've said in a previous video, I don't really combine music and writing. I love both, but I like to keep them distinct because I find music too distracting when I am writing. I don't really have one particular song. I mean, if I'm writing a paranormal piece, maybe I'd be singing a few songs from paranormal based musicals, or things like that around the house, just because that's where my mind is at the time. But I don't really have a go-to inspirational song or anything like that. 5. What do you always do when you find yourself struggling with writer's block? Honestly, I don't have writer's block that much. I mean, I might have what you'd perhaps call a mini one, where I'm in the middle of a story, and because I don't plot, I know I need to get somewhere and I haven't quite decided how to get there yet. So I might spend a day or two mulling that over. But it's not really a block so much. It's not that I can't write, it's just that I'm considering options and sorting out what the best way is, because I don't want to write something and then discover later it's going to be a problem for later in the story. So I do mull over things a little bit now and again for a couple of days, but I don't really have a block. And usually, I mean, at the moment I've only got one piece ongoing, but more often than not I've got at least 2 pieces ongoing. So if I'm having that like mulling over period in one, I can always go to the other one and write a bit of that one instead. 6. What tools do you use when you're writing? Not much. I mean, I have a notepad. I used to just do it on scraps of paper, but now for this book I'm working on at the moment, my mother-in-law gave me this spiral notebook, quite a nice one, for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I hadn't used it yet. And I've been doing my first draft of that book in that notebook. So whereas usually I'd write a few pages just on an A4 pad, as I print them off I'd screw up the paper, chuck it away. I am keeping the whole draft at the moment extant in the book. So I can, it's actually been quite handy because I can flip back and say, oh, where did I set something, and I don't have to worry about turning the computer on, looking at my typed up notes. I can just flip back through straight away when I'm writing. So it is something I'm probably going to do again in the future. And yeah, so I've got my notebook, just a pen. I don't have a particular pen, just whatever's around, it's got ink in it, that'll do. And then when I'm typing up, I just sit at my PC and type it up, and that's about it really. And I use Word. I don't think there's much more to say. Number 7, what's the one thing you can't live without during a writing session? Tea, probably. Tea, I usually have a cup of tea plus a glass of water with me while I'm writing. If I'm doing more than an hour session, I may go and freshen up with a second cup of tea halfway through. So yeah, I like to have a drink handy, because otherwise I'll sit there and get really dehydrated because I get caught up in the writing. So I always make sure I have a drink. Sometimes I like to have a little snack, although that's very bad, especially when you're trying to lose weight as I am at the moment. So I try not to have too many snacks, just the drink. And finally, it's the last question, which, oh no, there's one more after this, I lied, there are 9. And this question is pretty much related to what I've just told you. It's, how do you fuel yourself during a writing session? I've pretty much just answered that. Occasionally if I've got a bit of chocolate or something around, I might nibble that, but I try not to eat too much while I'm writing. It is just the drinks, the beverages, as I just mentioned. And so finally, number 9, my missed question at the bottom here. How do you know when you're done writing? I think that kind of relates more to my editing process than my writing. I mean, I know when I've reached the end of the story in the first draft, it's pretty obvious. With edits, I have set myself for a novel, I usually have 3 solid rounds of edits and a proofread. I'm pretty good. I mean, mostly I don't have major structural edits. If I do, I deal with them in the first round of edits, and then they're fine. So for me, the story is usually pretty close to how it's going to end up, even at the first draft. However, I have to really watch myself with edits, because I do tend to get carried away and I start tweaking things that aren't incorrect. It's just me being pedantic about phrasing or something. So that's why I kind of set myself 3 solid rounds of edits plus a proofread, and I try not, maybe I'd do one more round if I really thought stuff needed tweaking, but I try not to go over those, because otherwise I know I'm just like fiddling for the sake of fiddling, and the story itself is fine. It's just a bit of language fiddling that isn't necessary. So that's why I have my fairly strict regime of rounds of edits, because it doesn't tend to need more than that. It's just me worrying over things that don't need worrying over. So that's pretty much it. So I hope that's been interesting for you. Those are my writing rituals. I will be back again very soon with another Ask an Author tag, but if you've got any comments or questions on this video, pop them below. If there's anything you'd like me to talk about in an Ask the Author video, something that I haven't done yet, a topic I haven't covered, some pressing question you're desperate to know the answer to, pop those below too, and I'll do my best to answer them for you and make videos just for you. I will end there, but I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye for now.